Welcome. So, if you've ever stared at your cholesterol lab report and just felt completely lost, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we are going to take those baffling numbers and turn them into a clear, understandable, and, most importantly, an actionable plan for your health. Right? This is the big question. You get the report back, you see these values for LDL, HDL, triglycerides, but what does any of it really mean for you? And what are you supposed to do about it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. We're going to dive into your lipid panel and explain what that lab report is actually telling you. Think of your lipid panel as a report card for your heart health. It's not really a pass or fail, though. It's more like a snapshot, a picture of the different kinds of fats, or lipids, that are circulating through your blood at one specific moment in time.
So these are the main characters in the story: total cholesterol, LDL, HDL, and triglycerides. But I want you to pay special attention to that last one, non-HDL cholesterol. You know, experts now focus a lot on this number because it basically captures all of the bad cholesterol particles. It gives us a better, more complete picture of your cardiovascular risk than just looking at LDL alone. And this is just so important to remember. Your lipid panel is absolutely essential, but it doesn't tell the whole story. These numbers are just the beginning of the investigation into your personal health. They're not the final verdict.
All right, now that we have a handle on the numbers themselves, the next step is to figure out what they actually mean for you, specifically. We've got to calculate your real risk. Because context is absolutely everything. A single number, like an LDL of 140, can mean something totally different depending on who it belongs to. Your age, your habits, your other health conditions. They change the entire equation. So how does your doctor piece all that context together? Well, they use a tool like the ASCVD risk calculator. That stands for atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, things like heart attacks and strokes. This calculator takes all these different factors, plugs them in, and acts kind of like a weather forecast for your heart, giving a much more accurate prediction of your risk over the next 10 years. And what it spits out is one single, really powerful number. This percentage is your estimated risk of having a major cardiovascular event, again like a heart attack or stroke, sometime within the next decade. Based on that percentage, you'll fall into one of these risk categories: low, intermediate, or high. And this categorization is what really guides the conversation with your doctor about how aggressive your treatment plan needs to be. Okay, so you know your personal risk level. What's next? Well, now we build the playbook. And the foundation for managing cholesterol always starts with a solid plan, built on two key pillars.
The approach is really twofold. It always begins with those foundational lifestyle and diet changes. Medication is an incredibly powerful tool, for sure, but it's designed to build on top of that strong foundation, not replace it.
Now, when we talk about diet, the evidence is really compelling. A traditional low-fat diet, yeah, it can lower your bad LDL cholesterol, but the catch is, sometimes it also lowers your good HDL. On the other hand, a Mediterranean-style diet, which is all about replacing saturated fats with healthy fats from things like olive oil and nuts, is just as good at lowering LDL, but it's way less likely to drag your good HDL down with it. When lifestyle changes aren't quite enough to get you to your goal, we turn to medication. And the undisputed cornerstone of cholesterol therapy, the first-line treatment, is a class of drugs called statins. They are the most proven medication for effectively lowering LDL and reducing cardiovascular risk. So who really needs a statin? Well, the clinical guidelines make this pretty simple, actually. They've identified 4 key groups of people who see an overwhelming, clear benefit from being on statin therapy. If you fall into any one of these categories, it's definitely time to have a serious talk with your doctor about starting one.
But what happens if you're in a high-risk group, you're on a statin, and your numbers are still not where they need to be? For that, we have to turn to the more advanced tools in the modern toolkit.
And believe me, this is a pretty common scenario for people at very high risk. But the good news is, the treatment plan doesn't just stop at statins. There is a very clear, evidence-based, multi-step approach for what to do next. So check this out. This is the modern game plan for patients at the absolute highest risk, where the goal is to get that LDL way down to less than 55. Step 1, a high-intensity statin. If that doesn't get you there, you add ezetimibe, a drug that blocks cholesterol absorption. And if you're still not at that goal, the next step is to add a really powerful class of injectable drugs called PCSK9 inhibitors.
You can really see the power of this layering strategy. Statins do the heavy lifting. They can lower LDL by up to 50%. But when you need to go even lower, adding these other therapies like ezetimibe and PCSK9 inhibitors gives doctors a toolkit to achieve really profound levels of LDL reduction.
And this number is just incredible. This is the kind of impact we're talking about with those third-line drugs. A PCSK9 inhibitor, when you add it on top of a statin, can slash the remaining LDL cholesterol by an additional 60%. That is a massive drop. It's a total game changer for the highest-risk patients.
And it all comes down to this one idea. From reading your lab report to building a complex treatment plan, everything has to be personalized. Your cholesterol strategy isn't about chasing one single number, it's about creating a plan based on your unique risk profile, in partnership with your doctor. So really, the most important question isn't, what are my numbers? It's, what is my plan?